a Legends recap for the technically the 8th, but we're now on the ninth. Where I'd left off last session was I'd finished up my fight with Pan, and it had kind of come to its conclusion. Like I said, it was close, but there was definitely some factors. I didn't go all out. She went all out. All that kind of stuff. I felt a little bit better about it after the fact of that being at 50% of my power, and it's something I kind of came to the realization of in this next session made me feel a little bit better about it. So that all being said, where do we pick up? Allie talks to me. So Allie and Prim are there. I didn't have the name down, but I have it down now. Allie and Prim are there, and Allie comes to talk to me. And we first thing we do is we kind of talk about Pan and how she's doing, and I give her my honest interpretation, kind of surprised that she advanced as much as she did, in part thanks to the Helix, but also her natural talents and hardworking ethos and stuff like that. So it's Pan has everything going for her. She's hardworking, she's dedicated, she's talented, and she's gifted. So yeah, all those things go on saying Pan's gonna be somebody out there. But I kind of talk with Allie, and then I talk with Pan about it, and we kind of debrief a little bit on it, and then Allie gets back to me. Allie kind of introduces herself to Rohan and them. Allie and I are kind of homies now. I feel she might be the next Mrs. Emrys. The what's it called? I originally was move over, Opal, and then the DM reminded me listen, your grandfather had 6 wives, so listen, we could make a little room for Allie and Opal in my life. But she's always kind of sweet to me and everything like that. So I don't know. We'll see here. I kind of for being, it's one of those ones where she's about my age, maybe plus or minus 1 or 2 years, but I feel I kind of catch her off guard a little bit, with a combination of wit and sageness, whereas she's still kind of younger and everything like that, even with the way she's talking about training the instant transmission technique, she not the most confident as a teacher or anything like that, but she's kind of, you always surprise me kind of thing. So I don't know. We'll see what goes on there. She asked specifically about what's going on with Solo, who is the SS5, who is the Cerecio the Phoenix is one of his kids that got awakened. And as the DM kind of explains to me, is there is this. So Cerecio was kind of a warrior king, a monarchy, and then after his death, there was these civilians of influence who kind of rose up to, and it's not even necessarily fill the power vacuum, but just kind of keep the empire together. So yeah, I'm sure there was ambition in it, but it was also kind of a necessity to keep things running. Now that Solo's back, some people were heralding oh, let's go back to the monarchy, let's but other people were well, Solo is kind of reclusive and hasn't proven himself or anything like that. Maybe, I don't know if maybe he hasn't. He's an SS5, so I figure he's probably proven himself in some way. But he's not the best face of things, but he does have that lineage of the beloved warrior king. So there's a little bit, there's unrest, but it's not like civil war levels of things or anything like that. It's just more. There's two definitely sides to it, and that's when I kind of said to Allie, and this is one of those things where I was talking about she kind of appreciated my insight. I was as someone who's a bit of a businessman myself, the cue up the what's it called, the Norman Osborn meme, where I'm a bit of science myself. I was I understand the people who stepped in, took risks, and shouldered responsibilities, suddenly not wanting to give up their status and title because the warrior king's son woke up, and it's we know that lineage doesn't mean everything. It means something for sure. As far as Saiyans go, lineage is important, but it's not as far as ruling over an entire empire, and this is a galactic empire, that's a tall order. So yeah, it's definitely a little bit of unrest and turmoil, but like it hasn't spilled into the streets or anything like that, to my knowledge. Just like kind of giving her the heads up of it, and I come to kind of realize that like Ali and the war of the Saiyan proper empire, not like the Arcanian republics, probably is looking for like the stability in her potential ally. Which, like I said, it's like there is I figure she has that. She got more of that information, like me telling her as a friend, like kind of either confirms or denies some of the things she already does. Like I'm probably not telling her anything new. I also said I was like Solo needs to understand because like the DM had explained, like Solo is this very reclusive figure. He doesn't make public appearances. I was like, Solo needs to understand is like if he needs to win this, like he needs to understand he's the product. Like he's what like the people who are backing him are selling, and like being this like reclusive figure and everything like that isn't gonna do him any favors. And that was like one of those things where she's just like, oh, like that's actually a good way of looking at it. So that always said, we had our conversation. I asked her about the instant transmission technique, and she's like, it's a certain circle that are trained in. And I was like, well, can I be in that circle? And it kind of sweet talked my way in, and she was like, I think you could. And I said, I'll tell you what. I was like, I'll trade you for it. I was like, I'll ether smith you something. And I was like, you teach me instant transmission. I was like, when you have the time. I was like, because she's like, man, I better learn to be a better teacher real quick. Because she was like kind of teaching Pan, but like she doesn't feel like she's a great teacher by any means. Like she honestly, like I don't know if how she views me as far as a teacher to Pan versus herself, but I mean, like I said, she's still a second to Zero, so like just raw power alone. But like, as far as like maybe like the more of the ephemeral bits of teaching, she doesn't. I don't know. I don't know where she sees herself compared to me. That all being said, um, we kind of I come to like a very friendly arrangement. I was like, well, I'll make something for you, and then you teach me. I was like, you teach me this instant transmission technique because like, and she kind of theorizes that because I have heritage in space time magic, specifically my dad and older brother, maybe I'll be able to learn it a little easier because it is difficult to learn. I said, here's hoping because like I don't manifest space time magic. I manifest more from my mom's side, which is ether and constitution. But we'll see. Maybe it's dormant in there somewhere. I come up with something that I want to craft for her, and that's something I'll message the DM about. It came to me really quick, but she could like see like literally the gears working already. She's like, "You already have something, don't you?" And he's like, "I kind of do," and it was like one of those like impressive moments for her. And she's like, "Well, I better get ready to." And I was like, "Ali, I understand you're very busy. You're literally at the forefront of a galactic war." I was like, don't stress yourself over this. I was like, I'm not looking for like a 50-50 trade here. I was like, it's like it's friendship, and it's like when you get to it, you get to it. And it's like, and if I happen to get to it first, it's not. I don't keep score like that. And that was one of those ones like I didn't think of it that way, but I was like, maybe it did sweet talk her a little bit. Who knows? So Ali gets her send off and everything like that. We do our send off with Pan, say our goodbyes, and then I get my 6 month shift. So I finished that shift. I finished that block of time. I guess I achieved my Diamond Matrix, which is basically a significantly upgraded version of the regular absorption matrix I have now. Like I can absorb. It costs more energy to do, but it's much more durable, and I think the output of it, like the multiplier that I get off it, is much stronger. So it's like if I'm looking to like absorb small, like a combo punch or something like that, like I might just use the regular matrix. If I'm looking to absorb like those major energy blasts, like those finisher blasts, like because I usually can't, like usually those break my matrix, but like, I feel if I pour my energy into it, because the way it's set up was before, it was like I think it was like maybe like 1 to 5% for my regular matrix. So it's like, you can imagine if an equal level foe uses like a 20% power, like, major finisher blast, it's just going to get overwhelmed, which is what it does, but it still mitigates damage. But this way, like, I think I can jack it up to like 35%. As far as the matrix goes, so I can absorb some major stuff, which is good because that kind of moves Emrys towards that defensive character I wanted them to be. Not necessarily defensive in that sense, but like more tanky, I guess is a better way to say it. So yeah, I got some interesting things with that Diamond Matrix. I'm now long form SS2. So I'm not quite max SS2, but I am long form. And here and this and long form is where you get to be everything at a level, because at this point I can you basically have your the way it works is like you have your power reserve, but at any given point you can use 100%. You have basically 100% of your reserve, or you have 100% energy, but you have a reserve bigger than that. So my reserve currently is around 400% right now. So what it means is like I can only hold 100% at any given time, because I guess that kind of makes sense. But like for the I can basically power myself back up from like a reserve. Like my body can handle 100%, but I have a reserve that's about 400%. That's where it gets to be everything, because like before, um you diminish. I think I mentioned this last session, is you diminish in power as you go below 100%. It's not linear, but it is like it does get sharper in some areas, and more gradual in others. Like going from 90 or from going from 100% to 90% isn't as bad of a drop, but like once you're falling below like 50%, 40%, stuff like that, like the severity of the drop gets more and more intense. So with this is what I can do is I have basically a 400% pool. So like when I get to 50%, I can boom power myself back up to 100%, and now be fighting at that full efficiency after I let rip like one of my nasty blasts, or like use some technique or anything like that. So it's basically it comes with a lot of advantages when it comes to fighting. Like you're not operating off of that singular power supply. And when like your techniques and blasts take up 5, 10, 15, 20% of your power, and then like taking a really bad hit drops you by like 5, 10, 15, 20, 30%. Like you're kind of limited in in your how long you can fight. But like long form, like you can, and it's like it's almost one of those ones like long form 2 seems like like through obviously going to third form gives you like much bigger stat bonuses, and like makes you a much more powerful fighter. But like that long form thing with your versatility, like it's gonna be something I miss 100%. Like going from one to the other. But it's like all of your abilities kind of boost in potency too, so like it works out. But still, like just the yeah. So there's that. That's kind of like some of the advancements I make. We're going back to Lusara, which is Lane of Lore's thing. I have two meetings to do. One is with Opal and Lane, and Opal is looking to seriously get into terraforming as far as a business goes, which is great because our household could use two incomes. Uh, Listen, I always need more money to craft some stuff and everything like that. Like, Emrys is out there on that grind when it comes to cash. Like anything he can do to make a couple extra bucks so he can get some better materials, craft some stuff, all that kind of thing. Because I've definitely taken a bit of a backseat to like the business aspect and more like the personal gain aspect, which is like part of it is like I've been using that massive bonus from Lane. And like kind of like the new stuff I've been set up with, to kind of prepare myself for what's going on, because like we are kind of at war right now. We're not, our people aren't quite at war, like, but like the Sand Empire is, even though the Arcanians I don't think officially have entered into it. Got to get ready for that. So the second meeting is between Hikaru and Lane, and that's kind of to discuss their Hikaru's position about, not position so much, but like kind of like, hey, if you need help, like we're a very potent mercenary guild, and we we're here for you, kind of thing. Like we kind of like get him an in that, which that's all well and good. We go to one of the cities names. I think it's Skyrel. Let's see, large structures, and it's like I said, Rohan has followed through his training. Sai is becoming an amazing pilot and still growing. That's some little details I got. So we go to the planet. We get to this like really fancy lounge with like some really like upscale clientele, and Sirius, the guy who it seems like he's either Lane's second command confidant, like perhaps like significant other or something like that. He's there. Because like he's a little touchy feely with her. Like she kind of went to his arms to cry the one time, and like even him putting like a hand on her shoulder. Like it seems like there might be a little bit more there than just like professional security or something like that. He's there. He kind of cuts across the room says hello to me, and I'm just like, oh man, I'm putting a target on my back here. Like all these like rich and powerful people around me, and then this guy's making a beeline to me for on Lane's behalf. We get set up with a table. Opal, Lane, and I sit down, and Lane asks me if I could excuse myself so she could talk and get to know Opal a little bit without me distracting her in any kind of way. And I'm just like, I don't know how I was distract you, Lane. Like I'm here to have a good time. So I actually was going to suggest that I leave like the. I was like, do you guys want me to get something from the bar? I was like, bring it over. She's like, no, I just want drink recommend and everything like that. So I go over to the bar, get this drink recommendation, start talking with the bartender. She's this like Chitara style cat girl of like more like actual like cat hybrid kind of thing. Which like we're in Republic space, so like there's a lot of weird looking aliens out here. We get to talking. She says like you are a like you're in like the weapons business, and I said, how did you know? She's like, I got an eye for this kind of thing, and so we talk a little bit about things. She mixes me up the drink that I'm recommended. It's supposed to be a psychedelic of some sort, which I am not crazy about because I've got like serious meetings lined up, and I don't need to be taking like any kind of like day trips or anything like that. Like, so someone comes behind me, grabs the drink as if they're going to drink it, and I turn around to look to see who it is. The bartender's ready to protest, and I look and see it's Kato. I don't stop Kato because Kato's taking one for the team here. If Lane's like, "What did you try?" It's like actually something came up. A good old friend, a friend of mine showed up, and he took the drink to be, the kind of relationship we have, like where he's kind of a jackass, and I didn't take it. So it's like, so he took one for the team on that. Kato shows up and he says, "Hey, what's going on, man?" I'm like, "What are you doing here?" Like, first of all, it's not easy to get into this place, and he shows off that he's got this crest on his belt buckle, and it's the crest of Solo. And I was like, "Oh man, Kato's coming up in the world. He's working something through Solo, and that's apparently getting him access to these crazy places." And he's like, "I need your help." And I'm like, "Kato, listen, man." I got a meeting going on over there, and I was like, I got a really important meeting going on in an hour that's actually kind of tied to you. And he was like, well, how so? And I was like, well, it's like through the mercenary guilds actually. And I know Kato, I can't remember if Kato was, I think Kato was a member of like a mercenary guild like that. Like, so I was like, yeah, this is kind of like to like ensure the future of the mercenary guild with the Republic proper, to like kind of bring them up from Makoto space to a larger influence within the Saiyan Empire. And he's like, yeah, don't worry, it won't take long. And I'm like, oh, okay, like that's good. And I was like, do I have time to get my like gear and armor and things like that? And he's like, nah, you'll be fine. Like, it's like we're on a timetable here. And I was like, well, just so you know, I was like, the meeting's an hour, so I need to be back here before that. And he's like, yeah, don't worry about it, it'll be fine. And I'm just there, like both the player and Emrys are like, okay. Like, listen, I'm like, okay, if it's another Alamec thing, we go over there. We're Super Saiyans too, and we had to smack around like some Super Saiyans, and they were all elderly, and we basically just like kind of shut it down. No big deal. Maybe it's one of those things. I like joked when I was like, well, we breaking up like some sort of like illicit stripper ring or something like that. I was like, so something like that. And he just kind of laughed. Like, yeah. He's like, I already took care of that. Don't worry. So we get there. He gives me one of those crests, the Solo crest, and it apparently hides my power really well because I couldn't sense him. We're about the same level as it comes to find out when we're flying. I powered up the whole way, and we get there, and there's three threes, and there's about 15 to 20 people there. I think the DM said closer to 20. There's three threes, and that would leave probably like 16-ish twos. And one of the threes is Mira, my older sister. So that means that Dakawan and Mira now have both reached third form. And I'm assuming she's pretty fresh at it. And I'm just like, wait, this is a kind of a big operation already, Kato. Like, you got some powerhouses out here. Now, Mira being a 3, this is something I was talking about earlier. It's like, Mira being a 3 doesn't necessarily mean that she's just a solid 3. And this is where I was talking, like, where Emrys being a long form 2 is worth at least 10 base Super Saiyan 2. So it's like, within that level, there's a lot of give and take. So, that's why when I mentioned in the chat of like, oh, the most powerful guy that is, we're going to be trying to capture, the most powerful person of this encounter is on the other team. That matters a lot, like because if that guy's worth 10 mirrors and she's our three and she's one of our threes, like that skews the dynamics quite a bit. So that what was it called? Mira sees me. She looks really upset, and I just burst out laughing, like as a player, because Mira got in so much trouble with my family for dragging me along for the Cerberus mission because it was very dangerous, and like it was way in over my head. Like we fought a three there. And I was a Super Saiyan at the time, and I ended up hitting a fresh two, which again, like kind of what I said, like Quintus is still scary by today's standards for Emrys. Like I don't think Emrys could 1v1 Quintus, who was like the first major villain that he faced today. But he's still grown. Like Emrys is still grown a lot. But like if he went back in time and was like, all right, Quintus, you and me, let's go. Quintus probably just like bodies him like right out of the gate. So props to Quintus on that one, but. So Mira comes over. You can tell she's ready to chew Kato out. She's like, "This is the guy you said you could bring in." I was like, "Oh, hey Mira, how's it going?" And it's just like one of those ones where it's like, "Well, I'm here. You guys apparently need the help." And I kind of break down. I was like, "Listen, I'll mask the threes up right away. Hit Kato and I. Let me know what we're up against." And I kind of get the actual debriefing of what's going on. We're going to arrest this pirate dude, and it's like there's two threes and there's five twos. So both the threes are initiated, which means they're Arcadian, and three of the twos are initiated, which means like they have magical gifts and stuff like that. Like that, they have like those problematic things. So she's like, okay, that's what we're up against. I was like, okay, I'll mask us up, give the threes like the biggest chance to get the biggest advantage in the first 30 seconds, and hopefully we snowball this really hard because we do have numbers. I was like, if if we can basically deal with the twos really fast, then I think we can just overwhelm the threes. And especially like if I can get through them and just start masking people up, like getting them beyond their normal power ranges and stuff like that, then like we can turn this fight really quick because like it is difficult in Legends to fight multiple opponents without like a severe gap. That is something I've noticed. So like yeah, that's kind of like Emerson's plan. Like we'll basically blitz them, and like the DM even kind of like said it as such. Like listen, it seems like these people are walking into a really bad time. You guys seem well prepared for it. It could go smooth, and it's like and I'm actually not discounting that it won't go smooth. The player in me remains ever skeptical, but the as far as Emrys goes, it's like okay, like these are capable individuals I'm around. Kato's very capable. Mira is like experienced and versed in this kind of thing, and they did seemingly plan ahead in such a way. I joked to the DM, I was like, oh yeah, what's going to happen is the big bad SS3 is going to be like one of those ones who are like at the gap between like 3 and 4, and he's going to break into 4 in the middle of this fight, and I'm just going to be like, all right, DM, I'm going to go home because I don't want to fight this guy anymore. But yeah. So I was just like, yeah, like that. It's like, yeah. Well, technically they were right. There was only two threes when we got here, but now there's a 3 and a 4, and that changes everything. So we'll see. I get put on pause before the fight actually starts. It kind of all led up to that. I met this dude Remy, who can basically make armor on the fly from raw materials and kind of armor you up. And I kind of like give him my business card. Kato rolls his eyes. I was like, really, dude? Really? And I was like, listen, he's got a really interesting power. I was like, I think I could help him. He might be able to help me. If he's ever out in my neck of the woods, I'm going to have him stop by and take him out for drinks. Like the ever the businessman, ever like that kind of person. So that's where I left off. We're getting ready for the fight. There's like the people. I think there's like this Borg cube, which is like a floating prison, and like the prison kind of spit out the people who were supposed to arrest. They weren't in prison already. Like I guess they were like visiting someone in this prison, and then like people got word that like that they were there, and we could take them out. So that's where we left off. That was my session. Next session, I think, will be the big fight. Hopefully, no, there's no like people that show, or hopefully know that that these people aren't like more powerful than we expected. The What was the other thing? Oh, I did learn something as far as SS5 goes. Specifically, I think someone had asked about like, what do you know about it? And the DM did clarify something here. So you basically go from 3 to 4. I'm sorry, you go to 3 to second to Zuru. Second to Zuru is the traditional GT form that we know of, the red, the red and black fur, everything like that. From there, you need to hit max level, which is like long form plus another level of second to Zuru. Once you do that, you can hit a form which is known as Super Saiyan 4. They are parallel levels, meaning like they don't offer major strength increases or anything like that. Like Second to Zuru and Super Saiyan 4 are basically the same, but I think there's an appearance difference. What you do to hit Super Saiyan 5 is there is a way you combine those two levels. So like once you hit like max Second to Zuru and then you kind of unlock Super Saiyan 4, that's the first step. The second step is you combine them, and then that's how you hit Super Saiyan 5. That was something I learned this session, which is interesting for those powerful people out there who aren't like still Super Saiyan 2 like me. But that was my session, and we'll see what happens next time. If anyone else wants to turn down sessions so I can get in my fight, let me know, and I'll hop in. All right.